All right, cool. So welcome back to Beyond Philosophy, and I'm here again with Yoonseo, and I want to talk about the difference between deduction and induction. It seems like perhaps the two of us have a different concept of what those mean. So I guess to my mind, I learned about this, I guess, in whatever, some sort of philosophy, critical thinking type thing. And so my understanding is that deduction, maybe we could say induction is about probabilities, versus deduction is like if an argument necessarily follows. So I guess an example might be if A then B, A therefore B. So that'd be a deductive argument. If the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. Versus if A 90% chance of B, A therefore 90% chance of B. That'd be like an inductive argument. I guess some people actually still call that deductive because they would subsume that whatever. But anyway, so if something is like, well, probably true, it's probably the case given this fact and this fact and this fact, we can say that most likely this conclusion. So that would be my understanding of an inductive argument. Whereas it sounds like to you there's a difference between either I'm drawing the specific out from the general, or I'm extrapolating out from the specific to the general.
That's right. That's right.
Interesting.
So, like, suppose you see the sun come up every day, right? So so let's say you saw the sun come up today. You saw the sun come up yesterday, and the day before that, you've seen the sun come up. Let's say all the days of your life, right? And maybe you haven't seen it come up particularly, but you felt the light or whatnot, and you say, you know what? All those specific instances of the sun coming up means that the sun's probably going to come up for the rest of my life.
Right, and so I think David Hume pointed, I think that I forget the exact name of this, is the inductive fallacy or something like that. I think he used maybe even that specific example, saying, well, yeah, just because something has happened every time you've experienced it so far doesn't necessarily mean that it will happen the next time.
That's right, and that's a key element of catastrophic risk because, inductive like confidence causes you to miss out on the safety precautions you should be taking against those one-off rare occurrences, right? Like, for example, let's say you run a website and you're like, it's running fine, like, why should I be worried about it? And then you're not prepared for let's say, an irrecoverable server crash, and then suddenly, like, you have no backups prepared and your business is down the drain, right? Like, what?
Sounds like you're talking specifically to me.
No,
you're right. Yeah, you don't understand. I'm gonna go back up some stuff. I'll be back here in a second.
Exactly. So that's a good example of where inductive confidence can fail us. And I guess in terms of deduction, for me, like, I recognize that there's like the general definition of deduction where it's like you said, it's like if there are certain conditions, then therefore something else must follow, right? Logically. So, for example, if we know that if we assume that this room is cold and that any person inside a cold room will feel cold, then it follows that if I step into this cold room, I will feel cold, right? Because I'm a person, right? So I know that's like the general understanding of deduction. How I've usually juxtaposed deduction with induction has been kind of like lean towards more you're taking a lot of general premises and like arriving at a specific conclusion. Although you can also have specific premises and arrive at a conclusion as well. It's been more funneling down for me, just so that I can get some like a spectrum understanding of the difference between deduction and induction in this way.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I wonder if I might think, I'm not aware of a word that I would use to describe that process you're talking about. Words that come to mind are like extrapolation versus interpolation, but I don't know if that quite fits.
Yeah.
And also, like I'm coming up with fallacies of like fallacy of composition and fallacy of decomposition, where there's a fallacious element to drawing a particular conclusion about the general from the particular, or the particular from the general. But there are kind of, I guess, logically appropriate ways to do that, I suppose, right? But perhaps I think I would think of them all as classes of inductive reasoning, because I'm saying, like, since most people find this room cold, I'm likely to find this room cold. Therefore, so that's like an inductive argument, because I'm saying what probably is the case, but I don't know for sure.
Oh, interesting.
So, and I would think that, so drawing both directions, I would call both of those inductive, because it's all probabilistic, I think, at that point.
Okay, association of induction to probability, more so than the general to the rather more so than the specific to the general.
Yeah, that would be usually how I'd think of those logical concepts. So, again, as I mentioned in previous videos, I'm not a specifically trained philosopher. I've taken a couple classes here and there. I'm kind of an armchair, or in this case, couch philosopher.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I've also looked into like conventional definitions of both terms and gotten kind of mixed signals.
We'll insert the Wikipedia link down below, plus the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy or whatever. You can compare and contrast and see which one fits best for you. I don't know.
But I think what's really compelling is, I guess here is where I would bring up the difference between like talking the words and like understanding the ideas below them, right? So, like, of course, it's useful to be on the same page as to what definition we're using, right? But like in a general sense, it's really important to understand the underlying idea beneath the word, and especially if there's multiple ideas that different people associate that word with, then it's just really useful to know about those different ideas independently, so that you can use those compelling ideas as you see fit.
Right. So certainly, for the purpose of a conversation, we would say, okay, while we're talking, we're going to define X as whatever, and just for the sake of facilitating communication, and that's cool. And also, what's important is like understanding the underlying concept. So, regardless of what the definitions are, that idea of going from the general to the particular or specific, and vice versa, that's a really important concept. Okay, and actually, it brings up an idea for another topic. So maybe we can.